Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean from the Ridesharing101.com podcast. There's been a bunch of news so far this week, so continuing on from the beginning of Monday, let's go. The Wall Street Journal reports that the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, is investigating Uber over a complaint about gender inequity. The probe began last August and hasn't previously been reported upon. So I think this is now like the 6th federal investigation of Uber. There have been a lot. I don't know what the record is, but hey, 6 is a lot. The EEOC has been interviewing former and current employees and has requested documents as well. They are seeking information related to Uber's hiring practices, pay disparity, and other matters as they related to gender, one person said. This comes on the heels of an IPO scheduled for 2019 and an ad campaign where Uber promises a new corporate culture where it will always do the right thing. I guess that's, as long as you're a man. Anyway, sorry, the cynic in me, but it's true. Uber has said it has made a lot of changes in the last 18 months, and to be fair, last year Uber did commission an investigation into its workforce, which resulted in the firing of 20 employees. As I mentioned in last week's podcast, Leanne Hornsey resigned as Uber's head of HR, and COO Barney Harford has come under scrutiny for some of his comments on race. Uber's hired outside counsel to investigate Mr. Harford and will begin one-on-one coaching with executives in a few weeks. And my question is really, how hard is it to do this? How hard is it not to be a sexist and not to be a racist? I think a company in the very liberal city of San Francisco, I think it would be very hard to be either one of these things. Yet Uber seems to attract them. I don't know what it is, but they're working on it and, good for them. Next story, The Verge reports on a new tool called Spotlight, which is available through the Uber app. And what it does is it lights the screen a certain color, and this allows passengers to better find their Uber drivers. So if you're a driver, you might be looking for the person with a green screen. And if you're the passenger, your screen lights up green, you flash it to the oncoming cars. So if I'm in a crowded area, I'm picking up the Warriors, and I'm looking for somebody with a red screen, and I see your yellow screen, I can just pass you by and not have to worry about it. Now, this is a helpful tool to cut down on waiting time. It will also help avoid what Uber calls wasted supply, which is what happens when both parties can't find each other and one party has to cancel. The article notes that the driver beacons are available in 14 cities. The article also mentions that there are driver beacons that actually go into a driver's car, and these light up, and they're available in 14 cities. And same thing, they light up a particular color, and this helps the passengers find their drivers. Uber has also added a feature where the passengers can now text their drivers a short message such as, "I'm wearing a red coat." Now, I talk about this in my ebook as well. If you're in a crowded area and you don't get a text like this from your passenger, it is incumbent upon you to text your passenger, or you may never connect. Uber is also allowing passengers to book trips 30 days in advance, and they are offering a $10 credit to passengers if their ride is late. So a couple of new things happening there on that end. It's also interesting to note that the website moneyish.com basically published the same article a day or two later, but they had the title, "Kick-Ass New Uber Feature May Be a Game Changer for Riders." And, when I read titles like this, I always think of payola or some type of payoff. It might, again, just be the cynic in me, but I wonder, did someone really come up with this title on their own, thinking it was good journalism? Because if they did, yeah, let me tell you, no, not a good idea. But then again, I've never heard of moneyish.com, so who's to say for sure? On Tuesday, CBS News reports that thousands of Uber drivers will get settlement checks. Uber drivers will start receiving settlement checks this week for an average of $223. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, settled a lawsuit with Uber last year over the fact that it misled drivers over income estimates and vehicle lease agreements. The FTC alleged that Uber overestimated wage earning claims by $20,000 to $30,000 in New York and San Francisco. Shortly after filing charges, Uber settled for $20 million and agreed to stop making unsubstantiated claims about driver earnings and vehicle leasings. The FTC says 88,800 people qualify for checks. Ryan Price of the Independent Drivers Guild noted, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the money that the drivers will receive is actually much less than they lost or are owed. Now, check amounts will vary depending on city, hours driven, amount of money in the driver pool that's still left. Checks are void after 60 days. I have a couple of questions about this. Does the money come out of Uber's pocket, or is there an insurance policy that governs this? Because sometimes companies will get insurance policies that will pay for it. The other question I have is, if Uber overvalued or overstated pay by $20,000 to $30,000 a year and had misleading car leases, why is it only, $223? I mean, after all, Uber is a billion, quote-unquote, billion-dollar company. I don't think it really is, but a lot of the pundits say it is, but I don't think they know what they're talking about. But this amount only comes out to $20 million, and it seems to me that that's a very small number and that Uber got off light. Now, I don't work for the FTC, but if I did, I might have gone for a higher number there. TechCrunch reports that Uber's head of policy for flying taxis and autonomous vehicles leaves for self-driving startup Voyage. And Justin Ehrlich will now lead Voyage's strategy, policy, and legal efforts. And he previously worked under California Attorney General Kamala Harris. Now, I don't really know this guy or too much about him, and I simply bring up his departure because why would this guy leave with an IPO on the horizon? Either Uber didn't give him a lot of stock options, or he doesn't think that those options will be worth a lot when the company goes public. Or maybe he got stock options and he already sold them to SoftBank. Either way, I think it's just very interesting that a lot of people are leaving Uber right before the IPO. You think a lot of people would leave right after the IPO. So, just something to note and think about. Or maybe not. I think about the stuff I don't know if you guys do or not. But on Wednesday, The Verge reports that BMW is launching Reach Now in Seattle. This appears to be a higher-end service like Uber Black. Fares cost $2.40 per mile and 40 cents a minute. But that's not going to the driver, okay? You'll be able to request a certain temperature radio station or request a quiet ride. The drivers are paid through a company called EcoServe, and they receive a flat rate of $14.25 an hour. They have set shifts and can earn benefits. In addition, they can earn up to a 5% bonus if they keep a rating between 4.8 and 5. The drivers will use Reach Now cars so they don't have to pay for gas or insurance. So it sounds like a pretty good deal. There's no report on what markets Reach Now might expand to after Seattle. And kind of a funny story from the New York Daily News. They report that a phony Uber driver had $15,000 of unpaid toll tickets in his trunk. Richard Abraham, 22, has a suspended license. He fooled a fare into thinking he was the real deal, and as he was driving a Mercedes through the Midtown Tunnel, the police flagged his license plate with a license plate scanner. And evidently, Richard Abraham had he had a suspended license for failing to answer 4 summonses. And when his fare asked the police if he could get the luggage out of the trunk when it was kind of obvious that his driver was about to get arrested, that's when the toll violations were discovered. And as it turns out, the car was actually registered to Abram's cousin. and the car will not be returned until the violations are sorted out. Good luck with that in New York and the impound charges. That's all I've got to say. Futurism.com reported on a story that with the title of Uber and Lyft still allow racist behavior, but not as much as taxis. Okay? A UCLA doctoral student in urban planning, Ann Brown, released a dissertation titled Ride-Hail Revolution, Ride-Hail Travel, and Equity in Los Angeles. Evidently, over a 9-week period in 2017, she sent 18 UCLA students on different races to 2 different locations and requested a Lyft, an Uber, or a taxi. All totaled, they took 1,704 rides. The results were that black ride-hail passengers took 1 minute and 43 seconds longer to get rides on Uber and Lyft than their white counterparts. They also were 4% more likely to have their drivers cancel on them. Black taxi riders took 15 minutes longer to get a ride, and they were a whopping 73% more likely to have taxi drivers cancel on them. This is a crazy number. And for the record, I will state that I am white and I know that discrimination exists, but these numbers are just very sort of staggering, alarming, and upsetting. Being the sarcastic person that I am, I immediately thought that this would make a great Dave Chappelle skit. You know, talk about the study and, hey, you're a black rider? Hire a white person to ride with you so you can go to where you need to end up. And I know that's not politically correct, but neither is David Chappelle. And if Dave Chappelle is listening to this podcast, you can have that idea for free. I think it would be friggin' hilarious. Having said that, I'm moving on. South China Morning Post. 28 Uber drivers become the largest group convicted in Hong Kong, hit with fines of up to Hong Kong $4,500. And that's about $570 American. Ride-hailing service remains illegal in the city, and a number of drivers have been successfully prosecuted, says the article. The arrests were made following 22 police sting operations and 6 passenger complaints. Involving a car accident, a wrong destination, and inaccurate charges. Under Hong Kong law, driving a car without a hire permit, driving a car for hire without a permit is a criminal offense punishable by a Hong Kong $5,000 fine and 3 months imprisonment on the first conviction that jumps up to 10,000 Hong Kong dollars and 6 months on subsequent convictions. The drivers will all have their licenses suspended. Now, on Wednesday, today, TechCrunch reports that Uber hires its first chief privacy officer. Uber's hired its first chief privacy officer, ensuring the ride-hailing company complies with the EU's data protection laws. And Uber hired a couple of other people, which were announced via email. Ruby Zeffo, the chief privacy officer, will work in San Francisco, and it also hired Simon Hania as its data protection officer, as mandated under the EU's General Data Protection Regulation. And from Reuters, Uber hired former advisor to David Cameron to lead lobbying in Northern Europe. And for those of you who don't know, David Cameron was the former Prime Minister of England. Now, regarding all 3 of these hires, I don't really care one way or another who these people are, because I don't really know. But my question is, shouldn't these people have been hired a long time ago? I mean, privacy officer? Shouldn't that position have been filled after Uber got hacked? Over a year ago? You know, again, it just sort of justifies Uber philosophy of it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, despite the fact that, hey, their new motto is they're always going to do the right thing. Well, they might do the right thing, but, you know, it might take a while. The last story for the day, and this also comes from Reuters, Uber says that it has invested $500 million in Mexico since 2013. And this figure includes contributions to the government-run mobility funds, social responsibility projects, and unspecified security spending. So, in other words, bribes? I don't know. Maybe, but these are kind of, social responsibility projects. What does that mean? Government-run mobility funds? Unspecified security spending? Yeah, I don't know. Sounds kind of vague, but, maybe it was just too long-winded for an article of this type. Anyway, Uber had faced pressure to step up its game with the arrival of Chinese ride-hailing giant Didi Chuxing, which launched operations in the central Mexican city of Toluca in April and has announced it is rolling out services to other cities. And this is the important part. Uber also said it will remodel its Mexican support centers, in addition to giving riders in Mexico the option to tip drivers through its mobile app. So there it is right there. The rest of the world can tip. You've been able to tip in the United States for, a year now? But hey, not Mexico. Nope, not Mexico. Oh, are competitors coming to Mexico? Yeah, let's make it so people can tip the drivers because we care about them so much. And I'm just going to end it on that note. Thanks for listening. Check out the website. Check out the videos. And I'll see you next Sunday.